Folks, that was 3 deep breaths. And we're starting off with 3 deep breaths to underline the power of doing something as simple as breathing a few deep breaths. Or, as my friend Roger Annenson would say, the power of a smidgen. These little things that we can do throughout the day are going to make the difference in our lives. I'm Dave Munson. This is the Wake Up Laughing podcast. That's the working name of the book. We'll see what it ends up being in reality. And this is the second interview. First one was David T. interviewing me. And today it is a great pleasure and privilege to have Zephyr in the house, my man Zephyr, here to share some story. And it's so funny because of my history as a radio guy, it doesn't feel right if I don't have my headphones on. And now they're working.
Nice ear hug.
I was naked. Zephyr, it's headphone optional for you?
Oh my God, you're right there.
Okay, I'm turning it down. I think I'm turning it down. I don't know what I'm doing. Now I'm turning it down. All right. So now we're 2 pro-looking dudes, a couple of dudes with a podcast here. Thank you for tuning in. Please tell your friends, like it, whatever the current terms are. But yeah. So this is a podcast about how, let me see, I wrote it down. How to cultivate health and happiness through making lifestyle changes. So how to incorporate new things that give health and happiness to you and your life, and thus the people around you. So thanks for coming, Zephyr. It sounds a little weird now, doesn't it? Now it sounds like we're in like a weird echo chamber.
A little bit, but it's kind of nice. You know, it's kind of good feeling having the headphones on. It's
cool.
Not too bad.
I'm used
like
to
the sound of my voice in my ears. It's not so bad.
So Zephyr, I'll just come right out and say that I have known you ever since we came to Ashland. So 13 years I've known you. You're not some stranger that I just found through somebody. I'm friends with your dad. I know you. We're part of the same tribe.
Yeah.
The big tribe.
Yeah.
You know, we got different tribes, but we are part of a tribe. You're friends with my daughter.
Yeah.
And so we have really profound connections, you know, and you and I have had good talks. I would join you in song when you were playing guitar at school. I mean, we have a lot of sweet connections.
Yeah. And then you were helping me learn some tree work a couple years ago. It's really fun. You were helping me take the mistletoe out of the oaks on your property, and so we would climb way up into the trees, and I was all roped in, and you had all the equipment, and I would hammer on the mistletoe and stuff, and that was pretty fun. That was a really good time.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was part of my evil plan to help kids start their own small businesses, and to show you guys how to climb trees and not hurt my shoulders and arms because I am becoming mature. But you should have seen this guy. Zephyr climbed up the tree like the way a bear would, just kind of hugged it and
there weren't
just
any
like
branches at the base.
Like,
so
you were like a blend of like a bear and an orangutan. Like you could hang and swing.
Yeah, lots of long army action. But then also the
part
too.
Totally.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate you mentioning that. And what's so awesome is that all of this ties together. Like part of my book being a gathering of activities and lifestyles that help your life become healthier and happier, or maintain a level of health and happiness. One of the big things is like trade schools and learning a skill and spending your day doing something that helps somebody, that gives you exercise and makes you feel better.
And it was also making the Oaks happy. So that was pretty cool.
That's right. Friends of the Oaks.
Friends of the Oaks.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it seems like mainstream media is so full of like all of these like It's not there's not a whole lot of win-win stories out there, right? And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, like, I ride my bike, it makes me healthier and it makes me happier and it makes me feel connected with the earth. That's like a triple win, man. That's a grand slam.
Yeah.
So Zephyr, what made me think of you as a guest is that you have a really beautiful connection with nature. You've come to my 157 acres and, like, hiked up the canyon with a tent and basic supplies and hung out for 3 days at a time doing a solitary retreat.
Yeah.
At the age of 18, probably.
Yeah,
19.
maybe something.
Yeah. A lot of kids aren't doing that sort of stuff, but you have that healthy habit of going to nature when you want help. And so that's why I really wanted to have you on this show. And I would like to start off, if you would share just a little history, like, maybe how your life was as a kid. And because the focus of my book is a lot of it is about anxiety and depression, if you could just kind of talk about what your childhood was like, what your foundation was like, and then how you, when you first started having, like, struggles with anxiety or depression.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I feel like one of the things that made me the most was the school that me and Nina, Dave's daughter, went to. It was John Muir School, and the basis of the thing is there's only like less than 200 kids going there. I think like barely 100 when we started going, and it's just really amazing teachers, and there's just like 2 grades per teacher, so you are hanging out with the older kids and the younger kids. And we started every morning packing into this like little bright music room, and we would start every morning with like community sing for 45 minutes or something. And it wasn't something that anybody dreaded. It was something that we looked forward to. And we started the day with songs, and they were songs that we would keep singing in our heads the rest of the day, and we didn't resent it at all. And it was really lovely. And, the little kids would sit on the big kids' laps, and a lot of the kids would play instruments. I started playing guitar when I was 7 or something.
And the John Muir School encouraged that. Like, that helped you pick up a guitar.
Yeah, totally. And then, it helped me pick up a guitar, and it was like you start learning really simple, and it's just a few chords per song, and so you just look up and you just play along, and you follow people's fingers and the rhythm of the room, and it was really, really, really lovely. So it's just a really soft, like, nurturing introduction to community and music. But anyway, the other thing about the school that was so important is that, like, every Friday, instead of going to school, we would go out into the woods. So from kindergarten through 4th grade, we would all go out into Lithia Park, which is this beautiful park here in Ashland. Or we're not in Ashland right now, and we would explore the wildlife and walk up the creek and go to the pond and see what was going on with everything. Even when it was like frozen, we would go out. I remember one day it was frozen, and it was probably 3rd or 4th grade, and the pond was totally frozen over, and there were like tons of circles of goldfish underneath the pond. They were just swimming in circles. There were these huge masses. Super cool. And then a heron came down, and it was like looking at the ice, but then it started slipping around, and so it like took flight, and it almost fell into the water. But anyway, we would do this every Friday, and we would also like bring journals, and we would take notes on the things that were happening around us, and we would check back into the same places every time and see how they were changing with the seasons. We would spend time playing tag and stuff every day. Anyway, it was really lovely. What do you got to say about John Muir? Oh, well, there's lots more, but
yeah, there is lots more, and it's really cool that you went straight to musical mornings, because I write about that in the book. because what better way to spend the day than feeding your soul? And I love how you said that the room was bright, because it was. It was physically bright, like it was, and the light helps you wake up, but it was also bright with the hearts of all the kids. And I have videos and pictures of that room filled with shining faces, and that's like a cliche, but they were turned on. People were happy.
Yeah.
And I love that you say that you didn't dread it, and little kids sat on your lap. I mean, it was because intimacy and love, those are like some of the most important things that we all need. And so to have the founders of that school be so wise to know that that's the way to start the day, by giving kids love and allowing them to play and create beautiful things together. And the power of music, I've been studying it. Music, listening to it and especially playing it, is super good for your brain. And I absolutely agree that every Friday you would go outdoors, and the little kids would go to Lithia Park and do like the little kid version of the outdoors, which was probably super fun because there's creeks and meadows and all kinds of exploring, and learn about how leaves, their life process and photosynthesis, all of this real stuff that pertains. And then when you get older, when you cross the line, I guess, is it fourth grade?
Fifth grade is when you start.
Fifth grade.
Yeah, after you finish fourth.
You would go to Earth Teach.
Yeah.
Up in the mountains, 2,000 acres of actual bear and cougar wilderness.
Yeah. And there was every Friday we would go up there, and just to hike to base camp is like 2 miles up a really steep hill. And then there's like this triangle where the lines are a couple roads and a creek, and it's fed by a spring that's just 100 feet up. You know, the top corner of the boundary of our base camp was a spring that you could drink from. It's fenced off, so animals can't really get in there. Big ones like cows, because there's some cows that wander around on the property. But anyway, suddenly we went from like the little version to the big version, and we were learning about the science of this area right there. And we were playing games in this big triangle and building forts and having an awesome time. And then there's like also caves that have ice in them year round that we'd go to and climb down inside, and there's like a huge wall of ice in there. And there's like all of these crazy boulders and stuff, and there's like these massive cliff sides with huge rocks. And, running around, there's like this huge like lake that's covered with thick moss or something, and you can walk on it. And so we would run across this lake, and it would like wobble, and you'd fall in a couple times. I remember walking down the hill wet so many days, but just super, super fun. And going there is when we kind of got introduced to backpacking. Our first or second backpacking trip in 5th grade was Mount McLaughlin, and there's like always a big backpacking trip at the beginning of the year. And mind you, this is a free school. It's a magnet school or something. But
yeah, so some high quality schooling without having to come from a rich family or whatever.
Yeah. And we went to Mount McLaughlin, and it's like 5.5 miles up, 5.5 miles back, big old mountain. And it's like, I don't know, sounds so intimidating, but it was really not so bad. Everybody did it, and these little kids are climbing up the hill.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage as a teacher. I mean, having like 10-year-olds running around on the rocky peak of Mount McLaughlin and all those like dangerous little places could be is absolutely out of the box thinking. I always thought about that at the John Muir School, that those teachers were asked to do way more than a normal teacher. Like they would go on 2 or 3 day field trips, right? Like to Sunset Bay or something.
Yeah.
And just leave their family, the teachers, for 2 or 3 days, fairly regular.
Yeah, like every few months.
It was almost as if the John Muir School was asking the teachers to join a community, to join a family, and
Well,
that the school was a family.
Well, the teachers were the facilitators of that community.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really they were the heart of it. And it was really a beautiful thing. And so from 5th grade through 8th grade, I was there, and we would go backpacking like almost once a month, and then bigger backpacking trips every few months. And that really helped me develop more wilderness skills, and it was really, really awesome. Unfortunately, like, my sister is a few years younger than me, and the last few years, well, she's in high school now, but the last few years at John Muir, like, the school was getting bigger and a lot of things changed, and they weren't allowed to go on as many crazy, fun, dangerous trips anymore, not because anybody got hurt or anything, but because the school district was like afraid that something terrible would happen.
Yeah.
But it was such a privilege doing that, and I think that, like, them trusting us is really what helped me develop responsibility, and there wasn't I never felt the need to rebel against my teachers or anything. It was like there was always love both ways, and I say that and I mean that because I was with my teachers for like 2 and eventually 3 years at a time, and you really develop a strong relationship with them. It's really great.
Nice. A little bit of the old Rudolf Steiner model where you stick with the teacher for more than a year.
Yeah.
So they get to know you better, and you get to work on things with them over a longer period of time. Wow, that's really cool. At some point, I want to have Pat and Tim in here for
that
sure.
would be amazing.
The couple, the married couple that created the John Muir School, spent a lot of time thinking on exactly how to set it up, and it's nice. You're saying like really powerful stuff, like that you didn't feel the need to rebel against this jerky teacher that was trying to crush your spirit, or that was treating you, unfairly, or I mean, teachers can be so abusive. I mean, I've seen teachers ridicule children. I've seen them venting their own anger. But it's so cool to hear that that the love and the respect was mutual. I believe because you were part of a healthy community. What can you say about rites of passage? Because I know that the John Muir School, in its wisdom, incorporated rites of passage from the little ones, right? From the kindergartners all the way through to the 8th graders. There was always some challenge, something that you had to meet to cross the line into the next, to graduate into the next level.
Yeah, that's funny. I haven't really thought about it that much, but you're right. Yeah, it's like there were steps and levels, and you were really excited to do the next thing because it looked like a lot of fun. Like, kind of the first rites of passage, I guess, was like, I mean, a big one was the jump between 4th grade and 5th grade, where you're then going out and going on huge field trips and camping trips, and you're looking forward to it for years and years. But then you also know you have to have a certain amount of responsibility going into that. But I think that people would take more responsibility and try to act. They were encouraged to act like older kids towards the kinder through 3rd graders. As you're getting to the end of 4th grade, you're helping gather everybody and all that stuff, because you know that you're going to be in a more high stakes situation the next time. And then all the way up, you're sort of building, and you feel like the teachers are giving you more respect, and it's really nice. And then of course there's 8th grade graduation stuff, where the whole time you're looking forward to the 8th grade backpacking trip, which was like a 3 or 4 night, up to I think one class did a 5-night just because it ended up working out that year. Trip on the Rogue River Trail. It's like a 40-mile stretch of the Rogue. It's really, really beautiful, but
super remote wilderness.
You have to be ready going into it. And we had a really great time. And we saw bears, and we almost sat on a rattlesnake. Mm-hmm. And these things will happen, but it's good fun, and we felt like we had the tools to handle those situations. And of course there were like emergency precaution things, like we had a satellite phone with the class, so if something did happen, we could have a helicopter there that afternoon or whatever. But
nice. Yeah,
really good.
Yeah, so hats off to Jim and Marcia.
yeah our teachers taking a week out of their lives to take us on this trip. And
yeah, that's some super dedication. And then at the very end, the final parent night, or like the big graduation ceremony, all of the parents come to support the kids, and the kids give presentations. And part of what I remember that you share with the greater community is your vision quest. Like you each do these kind of vision quests, and you come back with like a spirit animal. And you share those stories.
And how you got your like trail name and stuff.
Yeah. I got to drive to the takeout to the end one time, and I remember Nina and maybe you and Xander and a bunch of the girls were all sitting on top of my truck.
Yeah.
And you guys were so like intoxicated with what you had done together, and you were probably pretty giddy about maybe getting back into civilization.
Sort of,
getting that first milkshake.
Maybe so.
And that first, watching that first movie or whatever. But one of the things that I felt was so healthy about the John Muir School is that it was a true tribal community, that the parents were encouraged with a completely open door to participate.
Yeah.
And once my son went to the middle school, it was very clear that it was the opposite. The doors are closed. And the middle school made this little meeting about how parent involvement, and it was all baloney. It was all lip service. There was no parent involvement. And I tried to help out in Sam's Spanish class twice, 2 different teachers. I wanted to come tell stories of my travels in Mexico and Central America. And it's like, hi, I would love to come in and make the language fun and interesting. And they never took me up on it. But the John Muir School, we try to keep it positive here at the Dave Munson podcast, because it's too easy to talk dookie about people or things, organizations. That's also one of the rules at KSKQ radio station in Ashland, Oregon, is that we're not supposed to talk bad about any person or company. And what's great about that is that what you do is you talk about the solution. You don't focus on the problem, you talk about the solution. And the solution is that as a parent at the John Muir School, I was told that I could come to class anytime I want, show up, and I would be put to work, helping a kid with reading a story, helping fix broken chairs and tables in Marcia's room. But like, they were open, which to me is the sign of a very healthy, holistic, inclusive society.
Which is only really possible at that scale, it seems like.
Scale.
Yeah.
Scale is huge.
Scale is huge.
I'm going to write that down. Yeah. Somebody is saying that we are programmed and designed by our DNA and our hundreds of thousands of years of Homo sapien evolution to live in groups of 220. Something, I don't know where that
Sounds
number.
like a pretty good number.
But John Muir School was, I think, like 120. How many classrooms? It was like the kindergarten first together.
Second, third, 3, 4. No, kindergarten first, second was a class, and then third, fourth was a class, and then fifth, sixth, and then seventh and eighth. And then eventually things changed a little bit, but I think it was maybe one more classroom eventually.
So that's 4.
Yeah.
And if there was 30 in each, and there wasn't,
There was.
it was more like 20.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's only 80 students, but then there's like 10 faculty. So that's 90, and then the parents. So anyway, it's about 100, 90, 100.
And I think it grew, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's awesome that you're talking about scale, because
I think scale is a big piece of
everything. When I went to UCLA, my classes were 500 students, and you would go in, and it was like you were at the movies, and it was a huge auditorium, and way down on the stage was this little shrimp, this little like internationally acclaimed researcher in chemistry or physics who had bad English, and then you would watch his face on the screen. So that was like one extreme of kind of disconnectedness. After 2 days at class, a lot of us were like, go by the notes, and no point in going to class. So, and that's a society that we don't really want to be part of. That's like being taught how to play the game, and playing the game is checking out of experience and reducing the experience to the quickest, easiest way to get through the hoops that you have. And that's called faking it. And that's like, that is absolutely what you don't want, I feel. So again, I could beat UCLA up, or I could just hold John Muir up and say, the scale is the thing, and you're totally right. That's what made it work. Yeah. So that's cool. I'm glad that you went right to John Muir. But now what I would like to hear about, because those are all great examples of how to give the best that we can to our kids. And giving the best that we can to our kids, to me, is a no-brainer. And that would mean food, plenty of good, the best food, plenty of free play time. Like, a kid cannot be scheduled from the time they get up to when they go to bed, unless you want them to just be like a little robot or something. But yeah, giving the best that we can for the kids, and it seems like common sense. But another thing I'd like to hear about, Zephyr, is at what point in your life did you have struggles with your mental health? Because that's part of this. Is acknowledging that we have a pandemic, like, there's the pandemic of this virus, and then there's the pandemic of mental health issues with youth, especially. So, do you want to share that? Can you share? Like,
oh yeah, like the time that I felt the most depressed and sort of not really quite self-destructive, but just really lonely and bored, and all the physiological symptoms of depression as well. Like, I became anemic. Super weird. I eat tons of meat and stuff, and I became anemic. But
is that low in iron? Is that what anemia?
Yeah, and it's like associated with like low energy and everything. And you talk to most, like half. I don't know, I talk to so many people that are anemic, and they have all the depression symptoms and stuff. But anyway, that transition out of John Muir into the high school was really when I became the most depressed, because I was used to being in this little nice community, and I was ready for more people and stuff, but it really got to me, and I just I didn't know very many people. And
how long did it take, like,
to come out of that?
How long did it take to get into a place where you were like at what point in high school did you notice that you were having a hard time?
Oh, pretty much immediately. It was just,
wow.
I don't know. I wasn't that cute. I was kind of chubby, and I was kind of like a bit pretentious. You do that thing where you try to look cool by not talking to anybody, just sitting in the corner of the classroom. That's kind of what my move was. It didn't really work, apparently. But
right, you just missed out on what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I just got really lonely.
So I'm just going to guess that part of this is you stepped out of the scale that was working and into this bigger scale where you're getting less attention.
Yeah.
You're less connected. The teacher doesn't have time. They got 30 students or 35 each hour. Boom. Boom. Next.
Yeah.
Next. And that never happened at John Muir. There was no flushing of the hour before and then fresh.
And it was like, I mean, you know, we had lots of homework at John Muir, and we cared about the assignments. So I know a lot of the kids around me would spend a ton of effort and time on their projects and stuff. But then in the high school, our writing assignments weren't stimulating at all. And there was a formula to succeed. And so you just do the bare minimum a lot of the time. A lot of the people around me were doing that, and I would do that eventually. But it was just, I like most of my waking time outside of school, if I wanted to get good grades, because I'm a bit slow, I would have to spend that time working on homework when I wasn't in soccer practice or whatever. And so just spending all of the daylight doing bullshit was really not fun, and it really got to me very quickly. And I know a lot of kids, like my little sister, she's able to thrive in high school, and she really enjoyed the transition out of John Muir, but also for John Muir had gotten less cool. So, you know, she was ready for that, but she is able to like thrive and do all of her homework stuff and have like a super busy social life. But I'm not designed like that. Yeah.
So your sister, you're talking about middle school or high school?
She's in high school now.
Okay, so she does better in the system. Your sister does.
Maybe.
Because of her nature.
Yeah, she's just got that sort of intelligence. She's pretty good.
The kind of intelligence that they measure at the high school.
Yeah, she's just really good at balancing a lot of things at once.
Cool.
Yeah.
I get you. Whereas like you may have felt overloaded by it, overwhelmed by it. She can rise up and get all the balls in the air.
And she's getting a lot of attention from the people around her for being pretty and for being bright and being inquisitive and stuff.
Yeah. So kudos to her, right?
Yeah.
Like she's hopefully, I don't know if this is true, but she could be thriving.
I think she is thriving. Yeah.
So
it's really
that's awesome. Yeah, and I think my son was that way as well. I was really surprised, but he was popular, having a great time, having fun with sports. School was easy because the way his brain works, he could just bust out the stuff. And same thing for me. Like I kind of knew that it was kind of a joke, and that there was this was this machine, and I didn't like it. I don't like the group process as a general rule, but I had the kind of intelligence where I could excel at math and reading and writing, and I could excel at all that stuff. So I got all those pats on the back. Like I was an A student, and I got all that, and I did good in sports and stuff. But the point that I'm realizing as I go along, I'm coming clearer and clearer on what the central philosophy and truths are in my book. And one of them is that it's wrong to look at a kid who's having a hard time in high school and think that there's something wrong with that kid. And I believe that the mainstream thinking has been that way forever. Like there's something wrong with you. We can give you some medication that will help with your ADHD. You have ADHD. You have an inability. But really, the system is broken. The culture is sick. And so it's absolutely healthy and normal to have a hard time in it.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't it have been great if there was somebody at the high school that was like, hey, I see you're struggling with what's going on here. That's absolutely natural and healthy. How can we adjust the system to meet your needs? Like, how can we make it more fun for you? How can we, because ultimately when you get up in the morning, you want to be excited about what you're walking into. And having to get up day after day and force yourself into a system that is not treating you kindly, or a life that you're just not happy with, that's going to wear you down.
Yeah.
So,
And you're just not meeting any of like the physiological needs in that sort of lifestyle. So you medicate to try to get that. And it's like, that's not a good path.
yes. At some point, I've realized I've been skirting it, but at some point we will go into self-medication because it's real. It's a real thing. And I don't know how many people talk about it, but not on this podcast. I want to stay focused, but yeah, it's true. Thank you for saying that. That's one answer, and it does serve certain needs, but right, if life isn't comfortable, you can smoke this or eat this and it'll make your uncomfortable life more comfortable. And it is an answer. And and if it can be done in balance, it's probably okay. But, I have addictive personality, so I tend to not stay in balance. But, when you look at these institutions of education that we have, the middle school and the high school, and they're these big buildings, and they kind of look like factories a little bit, and Ashland High School went way over the top when they built this huge concrete building and had built rooms that had no windows except for like one little slot where you could put like a machine gun to fight off probably the zombies that are coming. What were they thinking? I mean, were they thinking, hey, what's ideal for the health of the children? Or were they like, I don't know what they were thinking. It's
and it's not earthquake proof either. And they say that it'll kill a lot of people if there's an earthquake.
Oh, wow.
So that's fun too.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a recent one or is this the main? Yeah, you're thinking of the main kind of big one on.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Any concrete room without a window where you're just going to sit for hours. So I'm glad, Zephyr, that you said it's not serving you emotionally. It's sounding like you're not feeling loved, and you don't have intimacy. Like, at the John Muir School, during a break, you would maybe sit on the couch with a bunch of friends in a heap or something, or play guitar with your friends. Or go out in the hall and mingle with your tribe. The hall at the John Muir School was one of the coolest things because that was where you all could come together, and everybody was there, the kindergartners, the 8th graders. But I love how you said that physiologically it wasn't working, and that would be the long stints of time sitting in your seat and being quiet. And, and some people can handle that. Yeah. But I would tend to believe that everyone it would be healthier if they're allowed to get up and move around in a more organic manner. Like, not even wait for the buzzer. Like, if you need to get up and go outside, you go do it, and then you come back. So we could go on and on forever about the problems with the American education system. They go on and on. It's not designed to create free-thinking, healthy humans. That's the first problem. It's designed to create people that are very obedient and trained to get up when the bell rings, sit down when the bell rings. It's very convenient for industry and the corporate sector to have obedient work people. But
wait, which
yes,
wasn't it sort of designed after the Prussian military system or something? Do you know? I forget. I haven't read any books about it.
No, that's true. Yeah. Like, that's true. Like, our education system is based on some kind of a German sort of
just breaking people and making them obedient.
Absolutely. So Zephyr, I tell you, it's very easy for me to relate to what you're talking about, because when I went away to UC, I didn't start getting depressed until I was 18, my senior year, because I was maybe more like your sister. I excelled in high school, and it wasn't until I was 18 that I started getting depressed. And and that was, I was no longer super thrilled about my life. And then I went to college, and I was, like you were saying, I was not happy. I was in the wrong place. I was with the wrong people.
Mm.
But I want to get back. When you were a freshman at the high school, and it was you had just left this tight little community where everybody's accountable, everybody knows everybody. There's kind of like a certain level of respect
Yeah.
and trust that's demanded. I don't think it's optional. Like, you have to be trustworthy and respected and loved. You can't be anonymous. Whereas once you get into this big institution, you can kind of slink around, and you're much more, part of the nameless, faceless crowd, like in a city. So that was your freshman year. And so one of the ways you dealt with it, you were saying, was self-medicating.
Well, not really. Not
No,
really that
okay.
year.
Okay,
But
cool.
I mean, I self-medicated with, watching way too much YouTube and stuff,
Yeah.
Those become your friends, the YouTubers you watch and shit like that. And I still watch YouTube and stuff, but
Yeah, me too. You can learn some cool stuff.
you can learn lots of cool
There's good
stuff, but you
there.
can also waste years and years and years of your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's endless. And, people make money creating content. So it's not like,
Yeah.
And, I think I watched more porn that year and stuff too. And it's just,
Right. Kind of checking out, kind of like
yeah. And yeah, it's just,
cyber.
I mean, and I know that I could just see how many other kids there were just like me. some reason I didn't really feel like talking to them either, because I was worried that we would feed each other. It wouldn't actually make either of us feel any better being friends, which is like a weird thing. It's like, I can see that we're both kind of like that, but I still don't want to relate to you, because I'm afraid that you're
Gotcha.
it's not going to be productive or something.
If two depressed people get together, does it get twice as depressed?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you could come up with plans for how to get out of depression. But so
It was like a judgment of them, or not wanting to relate to them,
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
It sounds like, basically, instead of a come together energy, school wide, instead of like, hey, let's connect, let's support each other, it was kind of like, I'm guessing it's kind of like every man for themselves. Like, good luck. Hope you can be a winner. But I gotta take a step back to where you were talking about how, it was hard for you to complete your work at school, so you had to take it home. So you're...
Well, I mean, there's just homework.
Okay, there is homework, right? And your homework maybe took you a little longer than someone like your sister, because you were saying it took you a little bit longer to do it. The point that I want to make is, you're already struggling at school, and the thing that's going to help you to balance out that is having quality playtime,
Yeah.
quality time with your friends, quality time for playing sports, quality time for just hanging out, sitting on the couch. I mean, in the old days, people looked at the fire, or they looked at the clouds or the trees, but now we look at screens. But
an adventure, something inspiring.
So that just feels like this, like a double-edged, like a double kick in the gut. It's like, oh, you're having a hard time. Well, you need to go in your room and look at this stuff that's going to make you sicker, or you're going to study. And as a parent, it really enraged me that the little time that I had with my kids between school and sports, I was, the quality time would be like 1 or 2 hours. And if their math teacher was insisting that they spend half of that time or an hour in their room doing math, like busy work, and it absolutely is busy work, unless the goal is for everyone to become a math teacher, and I don't think that is. Anyway, that was infuriating, and I feel like, how can parents not come together and put a stop to that? Because it's encroaching. It's like the government training system encroaching on our private lives, like coming into our homes and telling us what we're going to do in our private time with our families. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And so it sucks that you had to go through that. And I went through that. Your dad went through that. Your mom went through that. Your grandparents did, and their parents. So we've got multiple generations of having been, squashed. And so I guess we're waking up to that. I think our parents, I can't say our parents because I am the age of your parent. I'll pretend we're from the same generation. No, but I feel like there was a lot of people that never questioned any of this, like my parents and their parents, because if you go back far enough, school was a privilege. But we've gone to the other extreme where school is a mandate and school is not. It's the opposite of liberation. So anyway, I love you're making this point that is so clear that when you switched from the small scale tribal nurturing, open to the community, to the extended family type school model, and you went to the big school with closed door policy, it was troublesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like I was able to succeed at school. I was able to do well, but I wasn't good enough to have it. It overwhelmed me, and it took all of my effort to succeed. And then the second half of high school, I was way less depressed. I was really happy, but
You say after high school?
no, the second half of
okay.
high school.
Okay.
But I stopped getting good grades, and it was like, I don't know. I don't think
Okay.
it has to be one or the other, but
I see.
I was like that.
It was Zephyr or the needs of the high school, and you're like, you put your needs first, so the
Yeah.
needs, their requests were like,
Yeah.
but
I just
okay.
suddenly prioritized like going on backpacking trips every weekend and like fitting adventures in all the time and saving up to go to Thailand and stuff like that.
Cool.
Suddenly became my focus, and I didn't do very well the second half of high school.
But you were taking care of Zephyr.
But I felt like I was taking care of it. But shit, if I don't make the right amount of money, I don't know if I was taking care of Zephyr. What if
Well,
it was momentary stuff, but maybe I'll be a better person for it. I'm
Yeah.
hoping so.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, good. That sounds like self-actualization. That sounds like you stepped into your power. You took control of your life. The second 2 years, it sounds like. But I want to ask you the question, so that those first 2 years when it was hard and it just kind of ground you down. Basically, it sounds like having to live in this reality that was not so great for you. Were you able to incorporate any of the healthy habits that you had been, cultivating through the John Muir School? Like in that first year, were you able to take walks, do something on the weekend? Did sports help you? I'm wondering I'm wondering what happened with your healthy self-care stuff. Did you completely drop it?
I think a lot of that was connected to the schedule of John Muir School, where we would go out all the time into the woods, and suddenly I had a lot of friends, it felt like, but then when I got to the high school, things just kind of fell apart, and I didn't have as many people around me, and so I was just lazy when I didn't have time, and I really didn't have time. Like, felt like all of my time I had to spend in order to get A's and stuff. I had to spend that time working on schoolwork, so I didn't feel like I had the time to go hiking and go on adventures. And
it sounds like a recipe for disease, really. It's like you no longer have time to do what you need to do to take care of yourself because you're working for us now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I mean,
harsh.
Yeah, and then
That's harsh.
I'm sure people are able to find a balance, but it's also
Yeah.
you get to justify being shitty when you make excuses for yourself and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's a whole lot of things going on, right? Like hormones are, when
Mhm.
you're in ninth grade, you're 15, hormones are raging. Um, uh, if you were in a more of a primitive society, you would have been playing all these games with boys and girls where you'd be like chasing girls through the jungle and like doing stuff that was more in tune with your like animal, your animal nature.
Oh, I guess yeah, I was playing soccer for the first 2 years of high school, and that should have been helpful, for getting exercise and stuff. And I guess it was somewhat, but I didn't really feel connected to those people very well either. And part of that, I think, is that I kind of made the decision that I was an outsider, and then it made it harder to connect, and it was like sort of my choice partially, you know.
So, what was it that kept you from connecting with your soccer players? And was this the high school team or
Mhm.
okay? Yeah, what was it that kept you from feeling close with the? Because that is one thing that can save people's lives.
Yeah,
Like for
feeling like they have
Sam,
a
that
good
and
team.
Nina both, basketball and soccer
Yeah,
was what kept them sane. If it wasn't
yeah.
for that, they would have really, fallen. But
I
so,
don't know. I didn't relate to a lot of them, and I had a few friends on the team, but yeah, I don't know. It just I had some judgments of them and stuff. Yeah. Sometimes I can be pretentious and let that kind of, when I don't feel accepted, I'll kind of put that up as a defense mechanism, but then it just, drives people away, and then, it's kind of a cycle. But anyway,
okay. Kind of clicky, maybe.
yeah, sort of.
Some of that.
Well, the second half of high school, I became friends with some people that really were excited and encouraged me to do the things that I loved doing. Or they were also interested in backpacking and the outdoors, and they wanted to develop more skills in the wilderness. And so we started going on trips like all the time. It was really fun. I would even like come back on school nights or come back on school mornings and stuff, and show up like a few minutes late for class with like half my backpacking gear and shit.
Smelling like a campfire.
Smelling like a campfire.
That's Zephyr.
Yeah.
You got back in touch with Zephyr.
Yeah.
I love it. And
All
so
the time. Yeah, we do on these little trips.
nice. You were commando. You were like living on the edge.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Nice. And so at 15, you just whatever. You just like fell into the grinder of the machine.
And just, yeah.
But then at 17, you managed somehow to rise up and look around, and you found friends, people that were like, yeah, let's blow this popsicle stand. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to Yosemite.
Yeah.
Let's go climb them, and off you went in your little Subaru or what your little beater mobile.
Yeah.
And off you went, and you I have to share with you the parallel. I was going to school at UCLA, and it was such a hard, difficult time for me. But I had a friend who was a ski patrol and a river guide, and ended up having his own river guide school. So in the summer, I would go and I would be a river guide, and sometimes in the winter I would join him and be a lift op. So I was able to go back and forth, and for a while that worked. But toward the end, there was no resuscitating me from the damaging effects of being in a city at college. But I think it's so magical to me to hear that you were just like, okay, in order to be happy, I can't be in this classroom all the time,
Yeah.
or I can't play this game. I can't have this institution tell me what I'm going to do with my spare time. And you broke out of that. You self-liberated.
Yeah, I just needed to be outside. I just needed to be doing what felt good and healthy.
Cool.
Being in the weather and stuff.
Nice.
And now I've set myself up to be in a similar, or have a lifestyle that's accommodating to those needs. Last year I was at Portland State. I was in a room a foot taller than my body, right next to a bridge over 84, and it was gross. And I was living in this house that was going to be demolished, and there were 10 other people living in it with me, and it was just not healthy being here, having bad air from the highway coming in my window, and having like rats sniffing around at my window, looking at my fish, and having people OD on the bridge that I walked across to get to school. That was less than a stone's throw from my house. Like one day, eventually the bridge got cleared of homeless people because one night a dealer that had set up on that bridge, someone had ripped him off, and so he killed 9 people with some really nasty shit that he sold them instead of what they thought they were getting. So 9 people died on that bridge, and finally the FBI came and they like took everybody out. And I was friends with a bunch of the people that were living there, but
wow,
it's like those.
Yeah,
it's just not meeting any of our human needs.
Yeah, cities are inhumane. I feel like they're an abomination. Like, it's not good. You can't breathe the air. You can't drink the water. You're not safe walking the streets. You can't. There's no bathrooms. They're absolutely inhumane. There's a great book called Holy Shit, Managing Manure to Save Mankind, and it's all about. Again, it's all about scale, but he's just saying when people come live in close proximity, high concentrations of human equals high concentrations of pollution. Everything is concentrated, and that's not what you want. So having people live out more rural, out in more open space is actually better for the humans and even better for the earth.
Yeah.
There's a great book called The Good Earth that takes place in China, and it's about all of these generations of farmers in China that that lived on the same plot of land, and part of the fertility of their land was from their own waste stream going back into the land. And it's an old story, and that may be the way forward for all of us to
create systems that replenish the fertility.
Yeah, closed loop, sustainable systems.
And if everybody interacts with their own systems and produces their own food, I think they'll be way healthier. But, we're not set up like that right now.
Yeah. So, Zephyr, I want to thank you for coming here and doing this interview, and I knew it was going to be good. I wanted to have you on this podcast because I knew that what you would say would be important and it would be real. So thank you for being real and vulnerable and showing up, even if you didn't maybe feel like Superman today, but you came here anyway. And when I look at you, I see Superman.
Thanks,
you're a hero to me and a good friend. And thank you for being real. And much love to you, man, and your journey. And,
let's do this again. I'll be more upbeat, and I'll have more stories for you.
Yeah, we will do it again.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
This is it. Thank you for tuning in. Tell a friend. We're just getting going here, and we're just going to keep putting these out. I'm going to try to do as many youth interviews, teen podcasts as I can, and I'm also going to be doing interviews with specialists, people that know the most about yoga, people that know the most about dance, all of these modalities that you can incorporate into your life to be healthier and stronger and feed you, not you feeding the machine. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Lots of love. All right.